Hello everyone, welcome back to the final episode of Southern Miss TV. I'm Jaterica Wilson.
And I'm Abigail Troth. This week's episode is the premiere of Southern Miss TV's special USM's Indifference.
All of this is on today's episode of Southern Miss TV.
Here's the premiere of Southern Miss TV's special USM's Indifference, an in-depth look into the policies on USM's campus surrounding sexual assault.
Welcome to USM's Indifference, Demands for Sexual Assault Justice Unanswered. I'm Sarah Kaufman.
And I'm Darius McCormick. After a call for a zero-tolerance policy regarding sexual assault from the University of Southern Mississippi student body last semester, the university's administration's response disappointed the students leading the request.
In this special, we will uncover the disconnect between the student body and administration, share information about help for survivors, discuss the sexual misconduct policies around Mississippi, and explain the different resources created for survivors on campus. All of this and more after the short break.
911, operator 901, where's the emergency?
127 Premiere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushrooms.
You know you've called 911. This is an emergency
Do you
line.
know how long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Okay, is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
We have a big problem, and we need your help.
It's happening on college campuses, at bars, at parties, even in high schools.
It's happening to our sisters and our daughters,
our wives and our friends.
It's called sexual assault, and it has to stop.
We have to stop it. So listen up.
If she doesn't consent, or if she can't consent, it's rape, it's assault.
It's a crime. It's wrong.
If I saw it happening, I was taught you have to do something about it.
If I saw it happening, I speak up.
If I saw it happening, I'd never blame her. I'd help her.
Because I don't want to be a part of the problem.
I want to be a part of the solution.
We need all of you to be part of the solution. This is about respect. It's about responsibility.
It's up to all of us to put an end to sexual assault. And that starts with you.
Because one is too many.
Welcome back to USM's Indifference. Student body's demands for a change are heard by administration, but administration fails to give students what they want.
Supporting survivors means zero tolerance.
Last October, students led two protests demanding the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy regarding sexual assault at the University of Southern Mississippi. 6 months later, the university's administration has failed to offer these students a satisfying response to their demands. The university is working to create a position for mental health outreach on campus, but for students like Morgan Myers, a sexual assault survivor, this solution overshadows the broader issue.
I shouldn't be sitting in a class with a known rapist.
And yet, Myers has found herself in this exact situation while attending USM. In the fall 2021 semester, the university allowed a student previously found responsible for conduct constituting sexual assault in a formal grievance process through Title IX to re-enroll on campus after a temporary 2-year suspension. The university's decision to allow the student back on campus sparked last semester's protests. A subsequent Change.org petition demanding the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy at USM garnered over 3,000 signatures, more than 20% of the student population. An academic study used by the USM Sexual Assault Prevention Ambassadors, or SAPA, found that about 2/3 of college rapists are repeat offenders, Moreover, these repeat offenders account for nearly 90% of campus rapes. USM's annual Security and Fire Safety Report lists 6 reported instances of rape on campus from 2018 through 2020. But when around 80% of female students and 70% of non-female students choose not to report their assault to law enforcement, these numbers are likely much higher. With this in mind, Myers' approach to punishing sexual offenders is simple.
You should not be on campus, and you should never be allowed to be back on campus. And that's the end of it. That's what zero tolerance is to me.
SAPA President Bella Bricado proposed a zero-tolerance policy to USM's administration after October's protests. Under this policy, any student, faculty, or staff found responsible for sexual assault in a formal grievance process through Title IX would be dismissed from in-person classes and activities on the university's campuses and facilities. These students would still be able to take courses virtually through the university, however, giving them the opportunity to finish their degrees. Bricado feels the solution for decreasing sexual misconduct is clear, but administration's hesitancy to adopt the policy isn't.
You know, if you can diminish campus sexual assaults by 90% just by eliminating a person we know has already committed a crime, then why not?
Bricado says a common misconception among students is that USM already has a zero-tolerance policy. They say students are often surprised to learn that offenders are allowed to re-enroll at the university after their suspension period is over.
It's not this progressive thing that's being asked of by students. It's fairly simple.
Despite students' calls for change, Director of Compliance and Ethics Paul Walters says USM is already a zero-tolerance campus.
And nobody ever defined what no tolerance or zero tolerance is. Our policy is zero tolerance. We don't tolerate sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, period.
Dean of Students Serena Cantrell, however, highlights USM's prioritization of student retention for repeat offenders, which contradicts the zero-tolerance policy proposed by students.
Now, if you're a repeat offender here, then we might suspend you because you're not listening or you're not truly wanting to make a change.
Cantrell emphasizes the importance of offering offenders resources to protect their futures and academic careers, which could be at the sacrifice of survivors' comfort on campus.
Here, we want to educate students on their behavior and how can we help you change that before you go to jail or before you ruin your career.
Despite claiming that USM is a zero-tolerance campus, Cantrell admits to finding difficulty locating information about zero-tolerance policies on other university campuses.
Are there other institutions that have a no-tolerance policy? Are they out there? How do they word theirs? What does that look like? I think somebody has to do the research.
During meetings with administrative officials in response to October's protests, however, Bricado presented numerous examples of zero-tolerance policies from other universities to administration. These documents showed guidelines for dismissing and expelling students found responsible for sexual misconduct on university campuses. Bricado was instructed to file a policy proposal through the Office of Compliance and Ethics.
We're not going to do it for you, but we'll show you the tools where you can use to create the policy in our software, and then we will go from there.
Undergraduate students like Myers feel unqualified to complete this process, and moreover, time commitments between school and work prevent many students from tackling the task.
I work full-time. I'm a full-time student. I'm dedicated to making change, so I do what I can, but I don't have time to go and type up a whole procedure. I don't know what the laws are, and I'm not expected to. They are.
Bricado is working with a graduate student to draft a zero-tolerance policy proposal to submit through the Office of Compliance and Ethics. It's taken nearly 6 months.
I don't want to say there's one shot because that's not necessarily true. However, you do want to make sure that you are taking your time so that you are submitting the, quote, most perfect form of that proposal that you can at that time.
Bricado hopes the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy into USM's sexual harassment policy and procedures will protect future students. Myers, however, feels as though the university prioritizes its reputation and finances over student safety and comfort.
I just don't think Southern should be accepting anybody back that has done that on campus. And I don't understand what's so hard about that to get.
Myers also believes a deeply rooted culture of protecting sexual offenders from academic and legal consequences contributes to the university's response to students' demands for zero tolerance on campus.
I understand not everybody does things wrong, but it's the culture of protecting people that do, because they're good guys, you know. I know a lot of good guys who have raped people. I'll just put it that way. And yeah, you can protect them all you want, but at the end of the day, someone else is going to get hurt.
Sarah Kaufman and Adarius McCormick for SMTV Special Reports.
While USM students and administration discuss the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy, the current policy provides support for survivors of sexual misconduct. Students could be confused about where to get help, but for students in need, they should start with the Title IX office.
There are many ways to take action and receive support. At the University of Southern Mississippi, it starts with the Title IX office. There, a student can find support, a pathway to restitution, and ways to cope with their experiences. Title IX is a federal law passed in 1972. Its purpose is to outlaw sex discrimination by protecting and ensuring access to higher education. This paved the way for women's athletics programs across the country. Title IX now has the power to investigate claims of sexual misconduct, but some survivors say the university isn't nearly as supportive of survivors as it ought to be.
I feel like you should be taken care of in that situation. You shouldn't be like wondering, oh God, what happened last night? It's just everybody blames it on something other than their own actions. And I just wish there was more accountability across campus.
But what exactly happens when a survivor does go to report a claim? It's all laid out in the university's policy on sexual misconduct. The policy allows those who've experienced sexual harassment or assault to pursue justice, whatever that means for them, through university sanctions or criminal charges from the police department. The policy isn't produced by USM, though. It's handed down as a guidance from the federal government.
So if we're not in compliance with those policies, those laws, those legislations, we can actually lose federal funding.
But student input has largely been ignored. That's enraged and empowered student groups like Sexual Assault Prevention Ambassadors, SAPA for short. SAPA President Bella Mercado is very clear about what they want in the policy.
If you are found responsible of sexual assault, your minimum sanction would be dismissal from being in person.
So what goes through a survivor's mind when considering their options? Sometimes a survivor needs time to feel empowered enough to take action. It could be months of mental and emotional agony. One survivor who earned prominence on campus as an advocate for change during the sexual assault protest last year took time with her decision.
So I was assaulted, it was early October of 2017. And then it wasn't until the next November, whenever I reported it.
When a survivor does want to report, Title IX meets them with support and encouragement. Title IX says they move forward at the pace of the survivor. No decisions are made for them, even if the survivor wants to take no action.
I hope that I'm making sure that they know that I know that this wasn't an easy thing to do. So let me just talk to you for a minute, and when you're comfortable and when you're ready, you tell me what you want to.
The survivors can choose to move forward with disciplinary proceedings, prompting a formal investigation into the incident. They can also pursue justice through criminal proceedings with help from law enforcement. Sometimes students want support, and they may not be ready to take action. Luckily, Title IX offers a host of supportive measures. Reynolds says these can include counseling or housing and class schedule rearrangements. When someone experiences this kind of trauma, Adia says, it can turn their whole world upside down.
But it took me a while to realize that that had happened, and then it was just like paralysis, really. And my grades sucked, like so bad. I had such a bad anxiety attack. And then my mom was like, you're not okay, you're going to therapy.
Being met with support right away can save lives and restore trust in the university environment. Then, survivors have the option to begin the formal grievance process or settle by informal resolution, which occurs more often than the formal grievance.
It is not a finding of responsibility. It is not a finding of not responsibility. Mm-hmm. It is purely what are we going to do moving forward. A lot of times this results in a behavioral contract.
The formal grievance initiates an investigation aimed at figuring the sequence of events surrounding the incident. The office appoints investigators to determine not liability, but the events that took place. Information is gathered through interviews with both parties, witnesses, or those who have knowledge of the incident. Usually the testimonies from one party directly refute claims made by the other. Seeing statements that refute claims and belittle a survivor's experience can be discouraging.
All the rest were just rebuttals. Like they would do quotes of things I said in my statement and be like, no. Like there was one where I described the couch. I said it was a brown leather couch, and their rebuttal was like, nope, it's black.
They hand the information to a hearing committee who determines responsibility. Parties in the investigation also have access to advisors. The advisor can be an attorney, but one is not guaranteed.
Does that put the complainant at a disadvantage if the respondent has an attorney? It could.
The criminal process can be daunting to a survivor. There's a risk of being re-traumatized, and proving your case in a court of law is also far more difficult.
Yeah, I did not have any confidence in the justice system whatsoever. I knew that I would not. It would be the basic he said, she said.
The burden of proof is important. In a criminal case, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. In an administrative process, it's more likely than not. We often refer to it as 50% plus a feather.
That's enough to dissuade many from pursuing criminal charges. But this is only one obstacle standing in the way of restitution for survivors of sexual assault. Adia Reed experienced time delays in the proceedings of her claim. USM's policy says cases are typically resolved between 60 to 90 business days. In reality, it can take much longer.
The whole process took nearly a year. Like, everything just moved so slow. And it was really confusing at the time. I'm like, what is taking so long? Like, why did it take a month and a half to get four faculty members to sit?
The biggest obstacle for survivors may be finding the courage to report their claims. The ACLU estimates that nearly 95% sexual assault experiences go unreported. Because Reed's assailant came from a background of privilege, she knew it would be a difficult process, but she had certain expectations.
I mean, like, justice was served, but not how it should have been, and I wasn't really content with it. Like, another thing, I was fully expecting him to be expelled.
After the hearing committee took the information into account, Reed's assailant was suspended for 2 years. USM's sexual assault policy states there are a range of sanctions applied based on the severity of the incident. Reynolds confirms that claims of sexual assault hardly end in expulsion. The accused's criminal or disciplinary history, along with the likelihood of future assaults, are taken into account. The fact that there are currently enrolled students with a history of assault on campus raises alarms for student advocates. They believe there should be no repeat offenders on campus.
And you're proven guilty, you should not be on campus, and you should never be allowed to be back on campus. And that's the end of it. But I feel like there needs to be more of like the zero tolerance attitude, because I shouldn't be sitting in a class with a known rapist.
They contend this jeopardizes campus safety, which has propelled the zero tolerance movement to the forefront of campus culture over the last year. Adia Reed feels a calling to be a part of that change. The movement is what motivated her to continue to pursuing action against all odds.
The only thing that got me out of bed was being like, okay, this is bigger than myself.
And she was right. Throughout this entire process, though, Title IX must be an impartial body after new guidance from the Trump administration. It now must protect the rights to education of the accused equally with the accuser, more like the judicial system.
Now, the way Title IX is we're very neutral, and so we treat both parties the same. 20 years ago, we were all victim, like the victim gets everything, but now you have to offer measures to each party involved. And some people have a hard time with that.
Title IX's regulations are expected to change again soon with new Biden administration guidance. Staff members are dizzy keeping up with the changing regulations.
On roller skates.
Yes.
Yeah. To say it's a balancing act is an understatement. Yeah. Being ready to pivot constantly.
Title IX wants to support victims, but their hands are tied to a certain extent. They can only operate how mandated by whoever is president. The Title IX coordinator cannot change a system that does not want to change. That office alone cannot implement a new policy by which to operate. Reporting a claim of sexual assault is a difficult journey. Dr. Erin Sessions says a simple thank you can go a long way.
It's so important for me to say thank you and to acknowledge the difficulty of walking into this office or of picking up the phone and calling because it's hard.
Despite these efforts, Reed says support is everything.
Find somebody that they trust. Like I said, a support system, like just knowing that you have a group of people who believe you and understand you and hear you and are like trying to continuously like help you.
Having someone by your side makes a world of difference. For the SMTV News Special, this is Carter Leishan and Sarah Hooper.
When we return from break, we'll discuss sexual assault policies on more campuses.
And students stand up and speak out about sexual assault, so stay tuned.
Hey everybody, listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey guys, listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date.
No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it. It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many. One is too many. One is too many.
End the violence.
Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Other university campuses in Mississippi share the same or similar indifference as USM surrounding their sexual assault policies.
Within the universities across the state, comparable to the University of Southern Mississippi, students' and administrators' thoughts regarding sexual assault resolutions do not coincide. Students have found many ways to come together to fight for sexual assault awareness. This includes protests, events, and showcases like Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College's Clothesline Project. These displays play a big part of student life, and some universities turn a blind eye to the agitation of students in the school community. Mississippi State University's Director of Civil Rights Compliance, Brett Harvey, represents this idea.
There have not been any, to my knowledge, about the way that we have handled a process here. There, I think, have been some frustrated students about situations where they felt like maybe an issue wasn't handled the way they wanted it to be, but those were cases where, unfortunately, the matter was not brought to us.
The lack of action for sexual assault policies from administrators sent a message of neglect to the student body, demanding awareness and recognition of the problems at hand. Out of 7 universities, including USM, examined for the report found that there have been a total of 55 reported sexual assault cases. These numbers include rape, fondling, and statutory rape. Due to this rate, there is an even bigger need to communicate with individuals regarding these cases. A senior at Ole Miss, Megan Fayard, feels troubled by the lack of action.
I feel like it's something that's definitely covered up a lot and not really talked about as much as it should be. I would say it's definitely more than you think it would be, I guess, but you also don't hear about it as much as I wish you would. You know, you kind of have to look into it to know about what the things that have happened other than them just outwardly kind of being put out there.
The concealing of sexual assault cases is shown across Mississippi campuses. Even in the differing public and private universities, a trend of unhappiness throughout students is seen. Agreeing with this claim is Savannah Peden, a senior at William Carey University.
The issue of sexual assault is huge, and just the stigma surrounding it, like how it's not talked about enough. And then when it happens, like we more often see that it's not addressed properly.
Because administrators are not providing adequate representation for students against sexual assault calling for action, this leads individuals to not want to step forward when something happens. But what can these administrators do to solve this?
I feel like the first step to making people more comfortable with sharing their stories and coming forward is definitely making it known that it's a priority to them.
An unfortunate circumstance that has shown itself throughout the search for togetherness between administrators and students is the conflict between the community demanding a zero-tolerance policy and the policy unmatching to this value. The misconduct policies range from Mississippi State University's assumption that the respondent is not responsible until an investigation is completed to the supportive measures provided to victims at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College.
My first action is to talk to the complainant, and he or she will tell me what happened, what they would like to do. A lot of them are scared and nervous and don't want to go through it. Of course, though, in saying that, if it is a direct effect, like physically, mentally, there's a direct emergency situation, that person is removed immediately.
Lilith Hansen and Kobe Moore for SMTV Special Reports.
A recent USM climate survey revealed that campus culture could play a part in survivors' reluctance to report sexual assault.
Dozens of notes line the wall, all telling the stories of people who did not report their sexual assault. Students can report sexual misconduct cases to Title IX and SAPA on campus, yet these resources often go unused. This begs the question, what is stopping students from reporting? A survey of about 100 USM students conducted by the SMTV Special Report Crew reveals that there's a culture on campus that could be keeping victims quiet. Lindsay Maxwell, quantitative researcher, helped sort through the results.
It is definitely interesting to see, even with this number of students, like the responses about people's feelings of guilt and their expectations of assault and their experiences on campus.
USM reported a total of 9 cases of sexual misconduct in the annual crime report between the years of 2018 and 2022. In the 2022 survey, 70 students reported harassment and 40 reported being assaulted, although not necessarily on USM's campus. In a study conducted by the Association of American Universities, 13% of students reported unwanted sexual contact on campus. For USM, that represents nearly 1,900 students who could have suffered unwanted sexual contact. Victim blaming has become a huge part of USM's culture, forcing women to believe that drinking too much or dressing a certain way could lead to their assault. 50% of students said they were fearful to report some of the time or occasionally, while 15% of students said they were fearful to report all of the time. Kaylee Nicholson, Vice President of Communications in sorority Delta Gamma, expressed that the university needs to take action to build trust with the students.
Which is something that I feel like really needs to change, because we can't just like sit and wait for stuff to happen if the university isn't taking control of the situation. So,
campus climate has proved to have a direct correlation to sexual assault reports. Brooke Parker reporting for SMTV News Special.
USM students pick up where they feel administration lacks with student-led organizations like USM's Sexual Assault Prevention Ambassadors.
Sexual assault survivor Selma Newbill created the Sexual Assault Prevention Ambassadors to advocate for survivors on USM's campus in 2018. SAPA is a student-run organization whose mission is to promote and facilitate discussion among peers regarding the issues of sexual misconduct and to help prevent sexual assault and other forms of sexual violence. And now, 4 years after its inception, SAPA is one of the most prominent student organizations on USM's Hattiesburg campus. The role of the director has changed to the current senior Isabella Brocado, but the mission remains the same.
We primarily talk about what sexual assault is, distinct it from sexual harassment. We talk about bystander intervention, consent, rape culture, myths and misconceptions about sexual assault, and any other topics that might come up in conversation.
SAPA's theory is that conversations with peers create more effective discussion than conversations with authorities. Sexual assault victims feel more comfortable opening about their trauma with peers, too. To better prepare them for these emotionally sensitive roles, all SAPA members must undergo a form of training. Enter Green Dot. During physically violent crimes, bystanders are present roughly 60% of the time, yet only 15% of the time do they intervene. Green Dot teaches bystander intervention strategies that help prevent and reduce physical violence. The course focuses on recognizing the signs of someone who has been assaulted and how to best support them. The 8-hour course teaches college, university, and community organization members how to handle situations through direct intervention, distraction, and delegation. For the Hattiesburg area, these trainings can be issued by Green Dot certified members of the Schaefer Center for Crisis Intervention, like Erica Powell.
What we do at Green Dot is we stop and we imagine a map of your community or your city with red dots placed all around to represent every violent encounter that takes place each day. So the red dots are moments in time when someone chooses to physically or emotionally hurt another person. Our goal is to create green dots or positive behaviors to replace those red dots, acts of violence.
Alongside Green Dot training, the Schaefer Center is a local nonprofit organization that provides free services such as counseling to survivors of violent crimes. It was originally established on the campus of USM, but now covers 11 counties in Mississippi. The center is also equipped with their crisis hotline, where trained volunteers are available to receive calls 24 hours a day. But despite its actions, the center still finds many of its workers as a result of sexual assault.
They've been through it themselves. They have been assaulted at one time or another, or they have been victims of some kind of crime throughout their lives.
The center's victim advocate, Teresa Elzy, is a survivor herself. She was sexually abused at a young age, and it wasn't until her adult life in Hattiesburg that she found counseling at the Schaefer Center. As a USM alumni and victims advocate, she feels that the university has been lacking in informing, preventing, and spreading awareness of sexual assault.
A lot has changed on USM campus, but there's still areas that can be improved. There's always room to improve. If they are found guilty, don't let them come back to campus.
One of her suggested solutions happened to be a zero-tolerance policy which aligned with the wishes of USM's campus and community students. The assumed policy would bar students found guilty of sexual assault from attending in-person classes and on-campus events, but online classes would still be allowed so they may finish their degrees. And although Brocado agrees with the policy, they are still an enthusiast of the university's existing resources.
We are primarily an advocacy-based organization. We're not a space for therapy because we're students, so we always like to refer students to counseling. Also, we like to refer to them to Title IX.
When someone is affected by sexual assault, both Elsie and Brocado encourage victims to report their cases to Title IX.
Title IX is a fantastic place to report because I think there's a big misconception that once you go report to Title IX, you're launching yourself into this criminal case.
The reporting process can be difficult for survivors of sexual assault, so SAPA works with staff and faculty toward improving the reporting process. The Schaefer Center and SAPA both act as support groups in the process of reporting and grieving. The Schaefer Center has first responders who are often called to the hospital to explain the process of rape kits and to support victims along with accompanying victims in court and police interviews.
We can offer the survivor resources of where to go. Sometimes we'll have exec members or other members who will volunteer to walk them there. That's not necessarily a service that we have in place. That's really just out of the kindness of members or an exec's heart, like whatever they want to do.
But even with the assistance in reporting and support groups, sexual assault is a weight that most victims carry for the rest of their lives.
It's a lifetime trauma that it will follow you your entire life. It's not something that happens and then a few years go by and you're like fine, you know, it happened. It's something that happens and it affects your entire life. And that shouldn't be taken lightly at all.
This has been Jessica Besnard and Jeremiah Henry for SMTV.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Stay tuned.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
This has been SMTV's first special, USM's Indifference, Demands for Sexual Assault Justice Unanswered.
For more information on USM's Indifference, visit the website at usmsindifference.wixsite.com. Subscribe to the USM's Indifference YouTube channel.
Students and survivors, if you need any help or resources, visit the USM's Title IX office in Cook Library or contact the office via email at titleix@usm.edu or via phone at 601-2666-804. I'm Adarius McCormick.
And I'm Sarah Kaufman. Thank you for watching this project created by Dr. Edgar Simpson's MCJ 406 capstone course. That was
was USM's Indifference. The seniors of MCJ 406 Journalism Workshop worked hard all semester in research and production of the special, and we'd like to congratulate them on their dedication.
Thank you for watching the final episode of Southern Miss TV. We wouldn't have made it this far without you, the viewers tuning in every week.
If you want to continue following us and see what we have planned for next fall, remember to follow us on all social media platforms at Southern Miss Student Media Center.
Thank you for making this first year a success, and we hope to see you next fall for another episode of Southern Miss TV.
Bye! Peace and love.